This story honestly seems totally made up until you review the police report, because the police officially kind of confirm much of what the family claims to be true about their haunting experience. And if that doesn't convince you, there's actually a movie adaptation called Veronica on Netflix, and they claim this is true too. So let's see what you think. In 1992, a police station in Madrid, Spain, received a frantic phone call from Maximo Gutierrez, claiming that he and his wife were being attacked by tall, shadowy figures. The responding officer didn't believe his initial claims, but decided to check it out in case it was an actual home invasion. There were no signs of forced entry, no signs of theft. In fact, the police noted that at first, the house was eerily quiet. They called the Gutierrezes back inside to talk to them now that, the house was safe. I'm air quoting. But as soon as they sit down to talk to them, they hear a loud bang out on the porch. The police described it as sounding like a large boulder falling and rolling along the ground. They run out to investigate, but nothing is there. As they stand there puzzled, one of the officers yells, "Duck!" just as an armoire door swings open violently, narrowly missing an officer's head. At this point, they think this could be some sort of prank, and they check the armoire. They're looking all over the place. There doesn't seem to be any strings or any way that this could be a prank. There's no one around. At this point, a couple of the officers decide that this is just too much for them, and they want to wait outside. The remaining officers go back into the living room to chat with the Gutierrezes about what the heck is going on with their house. When they sit down to chat, Mr. Gutierrez proceeds to tell the officers about the strange death of their 18-year-old daughter, Estefania, who had passed away just a few years earlier, and why they think that her death is actually connected to their house being haunted. Estefania went to a very religious school, and so when one of her teachers caught her and her friends using a Ouija board, she was really upset. The teacher runs over, she smashes the Ouija board and tells them that this is not okay, they can't do it. But when she broke up the board, she destroyed the little glass planchette they were using to actually maneuver the Ouija board. And the teacher and the students that were there all claimed to have seen some sort of trapped smoke escape from the glass planchette, and it actually was inhaled by Estefania. Mr. Gutierrez claimed that from that moment on, his daughter's physical and mental health began deteriorating. Estefania started telling her parents about these strange people she kept seeing in the house, especially at night when she was laying in bed. There'd be these shadow figures that would come out of the closet, come in the door, and they'd crawl all around her room. They'd even grab her sometimes at night. Her parents brought her in for testing, and no doctor could explain what was wrong with her. And so without a diagnosis, the parents had to watch in horror as their daughter's condition just deteriorated dramatically until finally she just suddenly died in her bed one night, and there was no official cause of death. Shortly after she passed away, her parents started to notice strange things happening in their house, and they believe that is when the haunting actually began. As the parents are divulging this information to the police, they all hear screams and banging coming from Estefania's room. The police actually physically jump up out of their chairs, they're so frightened. The police and the father make their way over to the bedroom. They open it up, and inside, no one's in there, even though the screaming continues. The crucifix that normally was mounted to the wall was in the middle of the floor. Where it was mounted on the wall were now these deep scratches dug into the wall that were not there literally probably 30 minutes earlier. The police continued to look everywhere to figure out where the heck the screaming is coming from, but they couldn't figure it out. As they're examining the room, they start hearing pounding in all of the walls. One of the police officers noticed that a picture of Estefania in that room had fallen on the ground, and he picked it up, and the frame itself was undamaged. But the picture inside the frame, which was of Estefania, had caught on fire and had burned through. Outside the bedroom, one of the police officers noted that a strange
people. Like, he was the loudest person in the room. He always picked on people that were easy targets and were not his size. Anybody that didn't know how to roast back. Anybody that didn't know how to fight. Anybody that didn't have a status. Anybody that was smaller or weaker than him. You name it, he went for it. Not even 30 seconds after I walked inside, the first thing I hear from him was, "You might as well take your ass home. You don't belong here." And for a split second, I played tug of war with my nerves like, should I ignore it or rip this nigga's lungs out his chest? You got lucky this time. So after the stretches and free hooping, Coach walks in like, "Let's go." We're gonna call him Coach Taylor. Now, honestly, I ain't like Coach Taylor, but that's for another story. He walked in, gathered everybody together, did the roll call for everybody, and tells everybody to get ready for running and drills. And for all my people out there that are watching this and are thinking about trying out, take notes on what I'm about to say. In basketball tryouts, at first, what the coach looks for is, are you coachable? Are you able to do the basics successfully? easily, like layups, passings, anything of that nature. And most importantly, can you do basic defense? Secondly, are you good at the game in an actual game versus just doing the drills right? That's why coaches after drills and runnings always be doing 5-on-5s just to test that theory. Most people see those 5-on-5s as just 5-on-5s, but don't be fooled. Those tryout 5-on-5s are just an indirect way for the coaches to predetermine who's already going to be on the team. If you do great on a 5-on-5, you might as well just pick up a jersey because you already on the team, my boy. Before we started the 5-on-5, we did layup and defense drills. We all got in the line. I was confident, calm, and collected. The only thing that was on my mind was don't mess up, just lay up the ball and keep it pushing. So when I got to the front of the line, bruh passed me the ball and I ran down the court. So many eyes were staring at me because of my middle school days, because they were the same boys I went to the middle school with, and I hated every single one of them. When it came to the judgment of basketball skill, they were cutthroat. Hey, I don't gangbang, but these dudes were technically my ops. Even so, I ain't let nothing bring me down. So I get to the hoop and I lay up the ball. I missed the freaking layup. Forgive me, Guy Sensei. How do you train for 3 months and still can't make a layup? Bruh, my anxiety shot up to the roof. The pain I felt running back to that line was something I'll probably never forget, because the moment I missed that layup, I had flashbacks to middle school when the same thing happened. For the rest of the drills, my whole body was shaking and I was in my head. Like I said before, I was worried more about not trying to mess up the drills than I did actually trying to do the drills correctly. All the niggas I went to middle school with looked at me like, some things don't change, do they? And Coach Taylor was disappointed. And after that, it was like a domino effect. I did horrible in defense drills, the playmaking drills, the pull-up jumper drills, everything after. It was most definitely torture, and that same anxiety and chain of mess-ups carried all the way into the 5-on-5s. Crunch time. Of course, on my team, I got picked last, but honestly, I didn't care at that point because it was clear as day that I wasn't gonna make it. But this was my last chance to fight my anxiety and show Coach the real progress I made over the summer. Team 3, you up? My anxiety was still the size of a planet, but it was my time to shine and I ain't have no time to waste. I was shaking like a wet dog at a pool party because I knew I had to do something spectacular to the ops before I left there with the element of surprise. A pull-up jumper on the ops, an ankle breaker on the ops.
Crimson-colored goo was present in some of the Gutierrez's furniture, an unfamiliar substance that neither the parents or any of the officers had seen since being in the house. Not knowing what to make of the situation, the police leave and suggest the Gutierrezes move out as quickly as possible, and ultimately they do, and they report as soon as they left that house, all of the paranormal activity ceased. The official police report is filled with extraordinary events that the officers present, which included the chief inspector of the police force, swore to have witnessed, leaving this case to be one of the most recent and eeriest unexplained cases in police history. And recently, this case was actually adapted into a movie called Veronica on Netflix, and people are saying it is the most terrifying movie they have ever seen. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what you want to hear next.